Hi there, everyone. Welcome to the ACSA Campus Tour, where every Tuesday we take you to another part of the state, talk to a district leader about what's happening in their school community and the successes and challenges they are experiencing during this COVID-19 pandemic. Joining us today is Don Austin, the superintendent from the Palo Alto Unified School District. Don, thanks so much for being with us today.
Oh, thanks. Great to be here with you.
You and I spoke back in April. You were part of a front page article that we did in EdCal, and we were talking a little bit about the experiences there. And you sent me this quote, and I think it's timely, which is why I want to go back to it. You said, quote, "I'm thinking about mental health issues and the anxiety that is predictable if we return and we are nailed by another outbreak. There is no resting." And again, I think it's timely because we've seen the COVID numbers spike, not just here in California, but nationwide. So let's talk a little bit about anxiety. Is it bigger now for your school community than it was back in March when we had the initial school shutdowns?
Yeah. I'm in my office right now, and I'm just looking at my whiteboard, and I've left some of the initial things I wrote down are still on the whiteboard. And at the top, and I had it circled, and I'm just leaving it there. It says reopening will be harder than closing. And that could not be more true. And the anxiety we had for us, it was starting in February, is only growing as reopening starts to get closer to that date. We're 30 something days out. The news changes every day. The news from experts contradicts itself, including guidance from the same experts. If you look at their words over the last few months, I think people they're at home all day. And when they're at home, they're researching, they're reading every single thing that's out there. I think anxiety is much higher now than it was in February, March, April, as we really start to get serious about what coming back may look like.
Now, learning loss has been a topic that's been well discussed. The governor's talked about it. The SPI has talked about it. Your colleagues have talked about it as well. Your district has set up something that is called the PAUSD Plus Student Support Center. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what's the strategy behind it and the ultimate goals that you and your staff have?
Sure. PAUSD Plus, by the way, is something I'd like to make available to everybody. So be happy to send out our plan through ACSA or wherever it makes sense for people to look at. It's just like anything else. It's an idea that we're using to address our needs locally, but it might make sense for everybody. One thing we had talked about early on in the closure is that if we reopen and don't prioritize the students who needed us the most, even before closure, that'd be a huge missed opportunity. And I'm looking at plans across the state and nation, and I think people are trying hard, but a lot of them look like, here's our plan. And the plan is the same broad brush plans that created inequities in the first place. So we're trying to be very mindful of the fact that if we are stuck with another closure or hybrid models or something that's less than in person, the students that had the hardest time with access, the students that were already behind, whether it's behind the curve of your community or behind any benchmark assessments, they didn't become less behind during the closures. And they need us more now on the back end than ever before. And I'm also starting to see across our region, at least here in the Bay Area, Santa Clara County, schools are dropping left and right into distance-only options, which means those same kids that struggled, or in some cases were lost or forgotten or sporadic engagement, are looking at more of the same if we don't have something in place. So the PAUSD Plus prioritizes the students who need us the most. It will give them more access to in-person, even if our schools are closed. It really is our attempt to reconnect, and if nothing else, just keep an arm around the kids that if we're not careful, we're going to lose.
And I want to make sure everybody knows, because you just mentioned it and invited everyone to see it. That is pausd.org. Am I correct that they can find that information?
That is correct. And we have a splash page now. So if you go to that website, it pops up immediately with our plan. If you click on that, PAUSD Plus is one of the panels. Super easy. Our entire plan is there. And while I say that, I say our plan as of today. The way things are changing, who knows? It may not be relevant at 1 o'clock this afternoon, but for today, it's there.
That is true. So now we're hitting that very crucial time. You mentioned earlier, we're just weeks away from school reopening. Where are you right now? You personally, where are you right now, and where's your district in preparing for that? And what are your expectations for that first couple of weeks or first couple of months after this new academic year begins?
Well, me personally, I'm going to start with the we, meaning me personal as me, and then I'm going to get to our district. I want to tell you flat out, I'm wore out. Absolutely exhausted, defeated in some places. I think, like a lot of people out there, there has not been anything positive come our direction since February. Absent a drive-through graduation celebration moment, it is nothing but negative and information overload, with a lack of clear direction at the state level, contradictions, opinions overload. So if there's anybody out there that feels like you're beaten down, I got to tell you, you're in the norm right now. This is the most brutal time of my career, and I would venture to guess most people. Now, for our district, we're taking an approach where everyone says follow the science. I would say anyone who's saying follow the science should probably quit using the phrase, because you're just going to get hit back with other reports from a different scientist, a different country. So, we've tried to stay away from that. What we've said is we're going to follow the guidance of our Santa Clara County Public Health Department, which again is a punt from the states, kicking it all back down to local counties, which is why you see the disparities you have. We have. So with our elementary schools, we're bringing them back on an A-B schedule. So if you're in an A group, you'll be physically with your teachers on Mondays and Tuesdays, and then potentially Wednesday. If you're in the B group, you get them Thursday, Friday, and every other Wednesday. Completely imperfect, but it met the guidelines of our county, and it starts to put some energy back on campuses. Our middle and high schools are going to be virtual only, partly because when we looked in the hybrids models for middle and high schools, we were not confident in our ability to deliver instruction on the off days in a way that would meet the standards that we would want for our school district. I understand lots of places are going that way, and if it fits your district, hey, there's no one answer. But that's where we're at for now. Elementary, I'd say, is tenuous in that if school districts keep dropping around us, and if the county sees that as a trend that we can't reverse, we may all end up in the same boat as virtual all the way across, which some districts in our county have done.
Hey, Don, I'm just going to throw one more question. We usually don't go past 3 questions, but I'll give you one more.
Right.
Because you talked about the impact emotionally, physically. You talked about being beaten down. You talked about, the only real highlight has been a graduation ceremony. And it wasn't, of course, the graduation ceremony that you and your district really would have wanted. Is there anything right now that's giving you hope as you go into the fall? Anything that you say, hey, you know what? I'm looking forward to getting back in whatever form it is. Is there one thing that you can kind of look at positively right now?
Yeah, I'll give you 2 real quick. Number 1 is I do get energy from speaking with my colleagues. And I think seeing the all-in attitude from the administrators in our state has been good. That seeing people are willing to just work their tails off, and feeling beat down and allowing yourself to quit are very, very different things. And I'm seeing resilience in our leaders. And then number two, I'd say I believe in our country. And our country has had things that we've had to deal with before. I think back to being a young principal on 9/11. And it felt hopeless at that point in time, and things came back. And, on the back end of this, we are going to come back, and we just have to be careful not to judge success or failure in the moment, but to give it some time to work through, make the best decisions we can. And, I believe in people. So am I optimistic? Yeah, I'm optimistic. You can be optimistic and wore out at the same time.
Don Austin, the superintendent from the Palo Alto Unified School District. Don, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being with us today. Remember, every Tuesday, we take you on the ACSA Campus Tour to another part of the state, talk with a district leader. We invite you to join us every Tuesday here on the ACSA Campus Tour.